Hello, and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin, and we are doing another edition of Why Would Anybody Buy Tesla? Because everything we've seen through the entire summer, especially since at least if we look at the most recent peak of price around July 18th at $293, it's been nothing but down. We are down nearly $75 from that day in less than a full month of trading activity. In 1 month, we are down 22%. That is hard to do, especially for a stock that's as large as Tesla and as much of a bellwether. When I look at it, though, one thing that's really actually quite positive is we are seeing that the lettering now has blue lettering with a white background. That means that we are 3 standard deviations below the 23-day average. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? That we've gone from 3 standard deviations above on the 18th of July to 3 standard deviations below on the 16th of August. We are currently below the 5-day moving average and the 20-day moving average. That is incredible. The volume, I think, is the most concerning thing because we're seeing over 100 million shares traded very easily with the price just falling. And it's not even like falling like gapping, or it's just essentially demandless. There's no interest in this market. I mean, we look at the signals. We have a go short in the short term, intermediate term, and longer term still. We are bearish across the board in the short term, intermediate term, and longer term. We look here at the rolling sentiment. We still don't actually see it getting positive. On the 10-day rolling, we're at 28% bullishness. That is so low. I was thinking that yesterday, maybe we were starting to see kind of a resumption of like, oh, maybe we're going to get a little bit of bullishness. Nope, I was wrong. When we look even at the trading signals, let's just see what we have here. We look at the trading signals. We have no bear Q3. We have no bull Q3. We do have big bears. We do have small bears. We've got another small bear coming. Nothing but concern for Tesla at the moment. Now, I'm going to look. It looks like the weekly data is not coming through. I'm actually just going to adjust that really quickly because it's going to make it so it all comes through very easily. And then it makes it so you understand how this data works, so that you can see how it's making sense, that it's all flowing through. So now the data is coming through. We look at the daily range here. We are just sliding down the bottom of the range. It's absolutely hideous. We continue to slide. We are now officially at the bottom of the range. The bottom is 220. We are at 225. I mean, when you're talking about that much money, is it really any difference? We look at the chart. The chart just continues to show that there's no love left in Tesla. I don't get it personally. We look here at the way that the daily sentiment is moving. It is continuing to fall. The one thing that you may be able to point to is the way that the sentiment has been moving, at least on the weekly. You can see through the end of last week, you're only at 53%, and we were kind of below that 15-day moving average. So the weekly bullish sentiment has been coming down ever since the middle of June, right? The peak here was at the 23rd. Again, it probably doesn't, it coincides pretty close with where we were in terms of the month of June on the daily. So maybe you could see the one positive. Ooh, look at this. This is the first time that we've seen the volume break above the 15-day moving average of volume since back in July, which is actually quite positive. We want to see that. We'd like to see the price break out. Now, we do see the volatility is starting to break out a little bit. The correlation is falling. That's not great. What we'd prefer to see now is the volatility start to roll over, similar to what it did here in June. We'd like to see a long roll over and this correlation go negative, because that would mean that the price is going to go sideways to up a little bit. When we're looking here at the trade range, we can see we're just at the bottom and sliding. We look at it on the weekly trade range. One of the things to point out, just because of the way this data is coming through, is that we are finally getting closer to the middle of the range on the weekly. We still do have downside to 116. We still have upside to 326. But getting to the middle at 225, that's actually really positive, at least in the short term. In the longer term, who knows? Tesla could be over. It doesn't look like it. I don't believe it, but it just could be. We look at the ultra-fast sentiment. It doesn't look great either for Tesla. We are at 45%. Now, we are at the lowest point that we have been at since back in May of 2023. That's a long time. I mean, essentially, summer's given up every single gain that it had or it began with, and now we're just back at the same starting place. That is super unfortunate when we think about it, because if we look at where we were, this was May 30th. We were at $200. So we have not fully come back yet, but we do have about 20% more to go. So I'll be curious to see. But what do you think in the comments below? Tell me, are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, subscribe to the New High newsletter. We give you 25 stocks to your inbox every single Sunday. I'll talk to you soon.